Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Curriculum, Co-Curricular Athletics and Pupil Personnel meeting for the month of December. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We have a short agenda for tonight. I am going to have Mr. Monroe pick up the one big item on the agenda, which I'm super excited about. Mr. Monroe, all yours.
Oh, sure.
Introduce yourself.
So we've been, if you could throw these down that way, if you don't mind, so I get one step outside. Sorry. So we've been, for the last couple of curriculum committee meetings, at the back end of the agenda, we've been addressing some of the current and new enrichment programs that have been offered to our students throughout the district, grades K through 8. And if you recall, coming out of the summer, this year, one of the areas we wanted to look at specifically was, well, two areas we wanted to look at specifically was one, we wanted to find new creative ways to offer enrichment learning to high school age students. And the other one, which has been an unofficial goal, I know of multiple boards and also the administration, was to design and implement an esports program that would be on par or better to the schools within our immediate and then greater region. So what we had done over the past really 2 years is identified a way we could do that responsibly and at no cost to the district, but also in a way that aligned from a curricular standpoint with some of the larger items that we were trying to address throughout the district, including social emotional learning, technology education, career readiness, and life literacies, and some of the key skills that esports embodies. So there were a couple ways to do it from a construct, or I'm sorry, a program framework perspective. We could have done it from internally, like an intramural style club-based activity, which could have organized something here within the district and had our residents compete against each other, or we could have gone the official route and entered a league and set up a team here within the learning community or within the school district that we could develop and grow appropriately and with fidelity. So we chose the latter, and so as a result, what we did is we elected through the enrichment program to introduce Monroe County School District esports, and we are officially entered into Garden State Esports League, which is the largest and really the only esports league in public education that public educators are using in this region. So we had a couple options in how we wanted to do it. We elected to start slowly. When we had originally pitched this back in August, we had said that we were hoping to get 3 to 5 teams out, maybe, or maybe 2 to 3 this winter. We're going to do one team in the the competition league. There are 2 leagues. The competition league is really for newcomers. It's almost like AAA. From a baseball standpoint, because some of these schools have been up and running for a few years now, and it allows us to develop the program slowly. And there's only one game that's being offered in this winter competition league, and that is Mario Kart 8, which, as I've learned from some of the high school students who were very quick to share with me, it is not the most popular game amongst the high school students currently, but I told them that's, unfortunately, that's what the league wants. So that's where we are with that particular with that league. I'm sorry, I said competition league. I misspoke. It's the contender league. So the contender league is the AAA version or like the minor league version of the contender of the competition league, which is like the varsity or JV varsity, I guess would be a better analogy. So the game we were eligible for this winter is Mario Kart 8, and we have our first official meeting tomorrow, right here, actually right through that wall over there. And we are excited to welcome our first official team tomorrow, and we'll get up and running. And our first competition will be 1 week from tomorrow. And we'll find out who we're competing against at some point tomorrow afternoon. But it'll be a team from Middlesex County, likely Old Bridge, East Brunswick, Edison, all of the teams. Now that's why we wanted Garden State Esports as well, because we thought it was important for us to be able to compete against our neighbors, much like we would in a GMC competition. So while we get up and running tomorrow, we're going to be paying very close attention to how the program would be, how we could scale the program, how our technology responds to the demands of the league, We'll be doing some things that we've never done before, like connecting to a Discord server, which is how the students communicate when they enter into this league. And when you do that, we enter an agreement with Garden State Esports that requires our teachers to monitor all chat that takes place. So there are things that we've never done before as a district that we want to make sure we do properly, and which is why we elected to start small within the contender league, which moves at a slower pace. And generally, the teams that we'll be competing against are in the same boat. They're newer programs with lesser experience in this type of competitive arena. So we'll be auditing and examining how things go. We'll be working with the students directly as almost co-collaborators, in addition to competitors, and hopefully we'll be successful. We did survey our students when they registered to identify their prior experience, which also kind of, if we had kids that signed up that had significant experience, maybe we would have had a conversation about entering the more competitive league, but we decided to err on the side of caution. Plus, we want to make sure we do it properly. So that would be the Winter League, which runs 7 weeks and begins tomorrow. At the turn of the new year, we will be eyeing the Spring 2026, which offers us the opportunity for expansion significantly, which would include into the middle school. So we approved enough staff to give us the opportunity to scale if need be. Remember, this is all driven by enrollment, so we will only expand if the interest from the community is there. There are a couple of things too in the winter that we had to work around. For example, the league only runs on Mondays and Wednesdays. So there were some conflicts that would have made it troublesome for the middle school to participate in the winter, but the spring offered us larger opportunities for middle school expansion. Plus it gives us more time to work all the technology out and some of the more nuanced areas of the competition that we're unfamiliar with. But the good news is, and I know the high school students that have reached out to me, we'll be happy to know that in spring, there are 3 additional games that will be offered in the league. Valorant, Rocket League, which is most popular, and 2XKO, which is a fighting game. All of these games are offered, the games that are offered to Monroe are the same games that would be offered to all schools in the league. So, we don't get to pick which games we want. And I need to make that clear to the high school kids. There's about 100 emails. They want to know why this game's not offered in League of Legends. I get it, right? But it's also been a nice opportunity to communicate directly through our marketing and stuff with the high school students, see what they're looking for, what they like. Many of the kids in the winter were disappointed that we have a 3 o'clock start time because it conflicts with sports and things like that. But, the idea about Garden State Esports, and if you have a chance, if you're curious about any of this, I recommend going on the Garden State Esports website, because it not only does it talk about the way the league is set up, but it also talks in much more depth about the curricular ties, kind of the origin of why esports has evolved for students maybe that are looking for places to thrive, and the ties to curriculum, things like that. There's a lot of interesting things there. There is a unified esports league, which we will be exploring in the spring as well for students in our special ed programs. So, these are programs, and as Ms. Bohr and I were chatting about prior to the meeting, is school boards and NJSIA is very active in examining how this is all going to fit in a larger scale of New Jersey Department of Education. So this is something that I would have to say that Monroe's even a little late to the game on, admittedly. So that, but we don't want to just install it just to install it. We want to do it right. Getting back to some of the things that in our dialogue with the students, we've had to make clear. So when you speak to Garden State Esports or any of the other coaches, and we went and visited Old Bridge and their team, they have one of the better teams around, so we wanted to meet with them, and they're right down the street, and they were super cool to host us and take us around their facility. We even sent our tech staff over there to take a look, make sure that we could meet all those needs. They say the hardest thing that we have when communicating with the parents and the students is that this is a team sport. So you can't just show up and play video games and then leave and forget about it. You can't be a part of the basketball team in the winter and be a part of the esports team, just like you can't be a part of the soccer team and the football team in the fall. So I think that is important as this goes out, and we kind of canonize this into our organization for the community to recognize. And that's why we want to be very strict with how we govern this. In order to be successful, and there are pathways beyond, just winning the county championship. There's careers tied to this. There's Division I collegiate divisions, and there's state championships at colleges and things like that. We'll get there eventually. But they highly recommend not going down this route unless you're going to do it officially and in the eye of how they want this to roll out at a larger level. And we as a district subscribe to that mindset. So that's kind of what we could look for. As far as communicating with the public, all of our communications have been delivered similarly to the way we have promoted all of our enrichment programs. This is a fee-based program, and our fees go directly back into the program. And we are fortunate enough to partner up with several community partners, which allowed us to cover all of the front-end costs, which was some small front-end technology costs, not as much as you would think, now that everything's digital. And, you know, the real beauty of this is that we clearly have the facility, given the technological infrastructure we have here specifically at the high school, to really just kind of link up and get going. We were here yesterday, testing things out, and everything went very well. So tomorrow we're really excited at 3 o'clock to get it going. And we think that this is going to be the start of something really special. And, you know, that's the way we've sold it to this first cohort of students that will start with us tomorrow. And we're really excited, and we ask the community for patience and also partnership as we move forward. Couple things we'll look at is, you know, in my mind, I would love for everything to run out of the high school, but realistically, that's probably not going to be feasible. So eventually we'll have to get into the business of governing 2 teams and 2 locations. So there are some scalability things that we want to be mindful of. We don't want to grow too big too fast to the point where it becomes unmanageable. But those are the types of structural things we'll be looking at throughout the winter and spring. From a financial standpoint, these programs operate in the same eye of the robotics programs, the computer science programs. All the enrichment programs that we bring to the district and the community are funded through revenue generation, whether that be through sponsorship or registration fees. We set prices that are targeted to a break-even point to make sure that we can cover the cost of materials and staffing and any professional development or technology expenditures that may come along with that, because these programs will not affect the general operating budget of the district. So I think the important thing to consider about that is that these programs only exist if the community wants them to. And the way that we measure the community's responsiveness to their satisfaction with these programs is through the enrollment. So if the enrollment's not there, they don't run. So when these programs come to the community, you could feel really confident that this is something that is driven by them, because these enrichment programs all, in essence, have come, whether that be through discussions like we've had over the past few years at this committee, or through the Citizens Advisory Committee, or even just dialogue with supervisors, teachers, and colleagues. So I think that's important for the community to recognize in an era when we're talking about examining all critical expenditures as they relate to organizational development, whether it's full-day kindergarten, full-day preschool, increasingly complex curricular expectations. When we come and we talk about these new programs, they are not coming in lieu of anything that we talk about in NAMI. And I think that's very important, because we were laughing in the central office as we were preparing for tonight. I said, when we hand out these video game logos, it almost becomes laughable at one side of our mouth, but it is a viable opportunity for students. It's been proven, it's been researched, and it certainly is not coming at the expense of anything else that is a critical and core element of our organization. So we will provide regular updates throughout the winter and spring on our development, and when the time comes to begin dialogue about the spring season, I will gladly provide the committee an update.
Congratulations, Mr. Monroe, and to the entire team for the kickstart tomorrow. Good luck. Just want to reiterate, this is revenue driven. We do not have the budget capability, but at the same time, we do not want to stay behind on something that is being praised by so many schools that have adopted it. We started this conversation when I saw the presentation by a student, and I was having this conversation with one of the supervisors before the meeting at the New Jersey School Board Association workshop, when we saw the Garden States do a presentation. Typically, when everybody looks at eSport, they would say, why are we making the kids go back and, you know, why are we encouraging them to play on computers in the school? This is a myth, because when you look at it from the eSport perspective, it has allowed students to do something which they were doing in their room by themselves alone in a group setting. So the whole social emotional learning aspect of it is consequential here. But the student that made that presentation in the workshop talked about leadership skills that came to him, the team skills that came to him through being part of esports when he had always been an introvert playing in the comfort of his room and his computer. So, and then the NJSBA delegation in May passed a resolution about this, where a lot of people from various districts around New Jersey came and spoke highly of this program. And that's when we reignited the conversation back in May, that what are we doing about it? And can we do something about it without impacting our budget? So I am really, really thankful to see this. Like you said, it's going to be community driven, but what we are doing as a school district is we are making it possible. But that cohort of students that want to make this their thing, there is careers in this, and we're opening the gateways to that. If the community doesn't need it, the program won't continue, but the community continues to see the demand and fulfill, and we will continue to fulfill the demand. So I will open it up for questions, please.
How many kids per team?
So it depends on the game. Mario Kart Deluxe can offer four to six for, I guess, official entry. If we are in the, I always mix up the names, the competitor and contender. If we are in the, thank you. If we are in the competitive league, they have very strict entry rules where like you have to, like, the team has to determine which 4 scores would be entered, like, I guess, officially. So they recommend, instead of having like 7 kids battle over to split the teams, we elected to do one larger team because we're in the contender league this year, because we're not, a lot of our kids don't have experience. But it really just depends on how you want to, you can enter up to 3 contender teams per school per game. We're only going to do 1 contender team.
I have another question.
Yes.
At the middle school, you're only allowed to do club 1 time a year due to space, I guess, and busing.
Mhm.
If somebody was doing a club and then wanted to do this, would that be a conflict?
No.
No.
So, and I'm glad you asked that. So this all enrichment service programs run separately from all school-based operations. So if you can imagine that the Monroe Township High School and Monroe Township Middle School have their clubs and their teams. And those, and obviously we go through those every year, and we vet them for their usefulness. Anything that we do through enrichment services runs in its own orbit, but alongside that, if you could imagine. Although they all run from the same curriculum, and they are driven by kind of the same policies and operational standards that all the school buildings hold, they run separately. So it allows us to operate alongside those things. And we actually will often try to schedule in a complementary way to those clubs. However, this is the first time, the esports program admittedly is the first time we've done an after-school enrichment program for the high school and the middle school. So that is one of the things we'll be examining, and one of the operational challenges that we experienced right out of the gate. So there's not enough space between the middle school day and the winter esports season for us to be able to do it properly, at least right now. So what we will be examining heading into the spring is, one, how we could successfully implement the enrichment services operations into the middle school without conflicting with anything that exists, not just from a curricular standpoint, but also operationally. We don't want to put any unnecessary strain on security, transportation. Anybody that participates in these programs has to provide their own transportation. And we make that very clear on the front.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand how it works. You have a team of 4.
Mhm.
So can you just walk me just through a little bit?
Sure.
How do you implement it? What does it look like? How do they win? Because here's the program. And so you have 4 kids. So what happens, in other words, for them to move from one level to the next level,
Mhm.
what do they have to accomplish?
So so for this particular season in the winter, they're playing a game called Mario Kart. It's a racing game where the objective is to win first place in an 8-person race, I believe. I haven't really played this myself, so I'm sure my son's at home. So essentially, if you win, you advance, like tournament style. There are multiple ways to win. Some of the games include time trials. So my understanding is this first leg of the contender league is based on time trials. So what the teams will have to do is figure out which items, I'm not gonna say weapons, but which items do you want to accompany that character with? And how you want to expend those resources on the track in a strategic and competitive way that would give you an edge. Now, keeping in mind, you only get a certain amount of tries to enter an official time. So in my mind, what's gonna happen is this team is gonna sit there and know we have 4 chances to enter our best time. And it all takes place here. So like, if we're competing against East Brunswick, they're in their lab down Route 18 or Riders Lane, and they're sitting in their lab, but that we have to submit our scores by 5 o'clock on Wednesday. Our team has 4 chances to submit their time trial. They have to figure out who's going, which student, are they gonna use Mario? Are they gonna use Yoshi? Are they gonna use Princess Toadstool? Are they gonna use the shell with the spikes on it, or are they gonna use the bomb that has oil? And it's laughable, but this is the dialogue that we imagine will be taking place. And
strategy.
there's a strategy, they're going to come to a decision.
As a team.
Yeah, as a team, right.
And they're going to, and then they're gonna have to execute, obviously, and it's a lot easier said than done if you've ever played the game. And then hopefully they will outperform their competitors from East Brunswick. Now, ultimately, this aggregates and there's a score, and again, I apologize, please check out the Garden State Esports website for scoring nuance, but that's how it works, and that's just the racing game. There are other games that are more tournament style. There's sports.
Which is so hard to explain.
And then there's like the straight up fighting games, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, where if you beat the other guy, you advance. So, some of it isn't as romantic, educationally romantic as I described. But while this is going on, students are being coached, they're being, led, and hopefully developing some of those standard 9 skills, those life literacies that we think are so critical in the 21st century. And we glanced over it before, and I just want to reemphasize, there is a dedicated unified division within Garden State Esports that encourages inclusion, special education participation. And that's something that we have spoken about at previous meetings, and that we remain committed to the development of that portion of the program as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Gail, please.
How are the students chosen, and is there a criteria for choosing them to be part of this team?
And currently, eventually, there likely will be. And many schools that have been running this for many years have been doing that in that fashion that you just described, much like a varsity sport.
Right.
However, some schools like us that are in their earlier stages, they do run it in the way that we're doing, which is right now, it is a pay-to-play model. So anyone right now that wants to be a part of it can be. We're not at the point yet where we are going to say, this is so competitive that we're going to pick a team. Likely when we get to that point, it will be embedded into the construct of the official school. Because like that, once it becomes a varsity sport, it stops becoming enrichment. It'll have to be part of the one, and then that's a larger discussion that we've already started talking about it as a high school and Dr. Higgins, and then ultimately middle school. And then you'll probably have like tryouts and things like that. Some schools have electives that are dedicated to esports because there are other things like broadcasting components, creative design, marketing. Old Bridge is very interesting the way that they go about it. If we had more time, I could go into how they run their middle school electives. But I want to make sure Mr. Snyder has some time as well. But some districts elect to actually develop an elective around it, and then they really get into the digital citizenship and everything like that. Some schools run it after school like a team. Some schools run it after school like a club. But the schools that are better at it have it much more ingrained in the culture of their school. And I would imagine that this is what the community would aim for when we're all said and done.
Thank you.
I think at this point, the community, the high school students and the parents need to become aware that this opportunity exists, and we see how it, I know this winter league is set. Hopefully you get more engagement in spring, and hopefully there's a lot of talent amongst our students like everywhere else for this.
We're going to be very explicit in showcasing how this winter goes, because we this is so new to the district, just to staff and the students. So stay tuned. We'll showcase it on social media, and I'll be happy to update the committee along the way.
And there are a lot of myths about it not being the right thing to do. Why am I allowing my kid to play esports? So the more the parents learn about it as a program, it will help. There might be so many students who want to do it, but the parents are going to be on the fence. So I guess that education would help too.
I'm sure that there was a lot of discussion about it over the last couple of weeks, because I started peppering a lot of information to the public about it, most recently especially.
Well, thank you for all the hard work, and good luck.
Thank you,
tomorrow.
thank you.
The other item, and really quick, we wanted to address something that was brought up by the student board member Aditya Arora in the last public board meeting. He was given information by other students and asked to bring it up. It was about option 2 being taken up or something like that. So I've asked Mr. Snyder to just clarify why that impression is out there amongst the students and why it is wrong. So Mr. Snyder, please.
Happy to. Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. And before I do that, I would be remiss if I didn't say tonight is the kickoff to our winter concert series. So I'm headed right to the Brookside concert after this. We'd love to see anyone from the community at any of our concerts. I know it's been posted online and have that information available. So that is starting today, so it's exciting. So yes, option 2. Option 2 are alternate pathways for physical education is in its 3rd year right now, just starting now the students had completed health marking period 1, and now they are instead of phys ed doing option 2. I'm happy to report option 2 is not only up and running, it is booming the scenes with a 321 seniors participating in this program, 321 officials.
That's almost 50% of the class.
Yes, which is half of the class. And they started that right at the beginning of 2nd marking period. So we are up and running. It's, like I said, just booming. Very exciting for the program. I look at this as almost like my baby because this was one of the first real projects I took on a couple of years ago when I started this role. So it is up and running. I think the clarification, if I can offer it to you, of why some students may have been confused about option 2 is option 2 is open to all students, but there are deadlines, and those deadlines had to be hard deadlines. So there have been students that have asked to be in the program after registration process was over that we had to say, unfortunately, we are past the deadline for, and that's for a variety of reasons that we cannot accommodate. So Dr. Higgins and I have been in constant touch about this, and we did have to stick to the very hard deadlines of that. So there may have been confusion, I'm only guessing, that if a student was told it was past the deadline, that they interpreted that as the program was not running anymore. But the program is up and running, very healthily running with like we said, about half the class at 321. I do want to commend Sean Field, one of our physical education teachers. Mr. Field manages all 321 of these students weekly to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, that they're getting their 150 minutes, and that they are submitting their time log in on when they're supposed to be doing that. So kudos to him. He's just been fantastic with this. With now that the time logs are starting to be due for this marking period, I will reiterate what we had said, that we have a strict 2-strike policy on this. So the first time a student is to miss their log, they are still in the program, but they will be given an email saying, this is, you missed your log, make sure you submit it. After the second time, they will be placed back in physical education in P12. And again, this is a graduation requirement, and it is not, I joke with students, it's not a get out of gym free card. This is a graduation requirement, and the 150 minutes must be met. But luckily, the students are excited to do it, and we have no doubt that they will meet the 150 minutes.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Please.
So while we're not limiting students, what is the deadline that these students were not aware of?
So the deadline, this is a class now,
This is a
where
class, right.
prior it was, the first year it started, it was not, this is a class the same way they would take another, if they were in
Elective.
strength and conditioning per se, they would register for strength and conditioning 1 or strength and conditioning 2 when they're doing their schedule. They needed to register for the alternate pathways when doing their schedule, and there was still some lead time in after that, but this is a class, so it really had to be done last school year, going into the school year.
So all
What
the
I-
juniors should know now that if they want to take option 2 as seniors, they should be selecting that as
Correct.
part of the
And,
schedule.
I've arranged that, that Sean Field and myself, I'm going to do, the 2 of us, we're going to go speak to juniors during their class and explain this whole process. We have a PowerPoint to show them and go all the ins and outs of the program, what's required in the program, and then hopefully there will be no confusion. But I appreciate the opportunity to clarify that. But we are up and running and all smiles with the program. It's very successful.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schneider. And that concludes the agenda, but I do want to take a minute to thank everybody. This is my last official curriculum meeting after not wanting to miss a single one in the last 4 years, because I say this without any shame, this is my favorite committee meeting. I've seen cricket get approved in this meeting, and I'm ending with esports getting approved in this meeting, and this is just talking about athletics. I have learned so much from all of you, each one of you individually, the grunt work that goes in our program creation, in our curriculum. I honestly, in the last 4 years, know a lot more about education than I did while I was getting educated. So there's a whole back end, the other side of the story that I learned, and I am so much better for having known that. I don't want to go into the details of everything that was done in the last 4 years, which I think was great, but I just want to conclude by saying that the most important work happens when good talent meets with the students' need. And I feel like I'm not undermining the work any other committee does, because I work on other committees too. But I feel like our district has a lot of talent, talking about students, talking about teachers and administrators and supervisors. We have great talent. And, our need of student success, as I've seen in the last 4 years with the work being done in this committee, is being met through the work that's being done. The backbone of student success is the good programs. Everything else facilitates it. The budget supports it, infrastructure supports it, policy makes sure things going. But the little, the importance of the programs and the work that this committee does is priceless, for the lack of a better word. So thank you to all of you. I know we're missing Mrs. Russ today and Dr. Roselle, Dr. Draston, Dr. Roselle. I want to thank each one of you for the real hard work that I've seen you put in. We've accomplished a lot. A board member has 2 roles to play, and I hope I have been able to play both of those well. My bigger role is to bring what the community needs to you guys. And I have been trying to do that for the last 4 years. The other role that I play is to see what you're doing, to understand, and to become that communicator, the liaison, the mediator with the community, to not just explain things the way they don't understand, but also to show and market the great programs that we're doing. And I've tried to be the voice of the district for that. And I hope that other board members will continue to, keep going ahead with this great work. Good luck to everybody for the next year or so. Charlie, go ahead.
I also like to thank you, as a board member, for your work and your effort that you put in. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed working with you, and I appreciate your leadership that you showed. And thank you so much. I know what it's like to work on that committee. I've been on 7 of them. I know the amount of work. I know the amount of effort you put in. It's just, and it's a no thank job.
It's a thankless job.
It really is. But
It's
you know what?
service.
You do it in service, and that's it.
It's a
You
service.
said it in a nutshell. So, thank you. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night and happy
Night.
holidays. Thank you.
Take care.